And
Okay.
then I'm going to share
There's
my
Tessa.
screen. Excellent. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
How
Gail.
are you all
Hello.
doing?
Hey, everyone.
All right. We have so much stuff to cover today. Super excited to be having this meeting because there's some really important stuff on our agenda. So just want to confirm before we get started that we have a quorum. Looks like we definitely have a quorum today.
And then for the record, Brian, what's your last name and who are you with?
DeMarco. I'm with Sae Communications.
Excellent. How do you spell
And
that?
Sorry, everybody.
Which my last name or the company?
All of it. I'm
All right.
bad with spelling. Or you can put it in the chat if you want.
Okay, I will do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
yeah, and just for the
Nice.
record, sorry, really quickly before we go on, Brian is an invited guest, and he is actually on the agenda later in the day. So Brian, welcome to your first Magip Board of Director meetings. We hope it won't be your last, but welcome to the room. Okay, and then Megan, you had something else?
Oh, well, I was just going to ask if we could potentially move the action item for the meetup towards the top of the agenda, and if there were any other action items, because I saw it was towards the bottom, and I was just worried we might not get to it again today if we waited.
Are you talking about the website for the GIS meetups?
Yes.
Yep, we can move that to first, and I'll just do it really fast. Kind of messes up my calendaring.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Look, we can
Hopefully
talk
I can
quick.
get it in there. Oh, you know what? I think I'm not in I'm in a PDF document. Let's talk quick. So let's the revision to the agenda is noted, and I will make sure that I update it. So but then could we do the approval for the minutes, Megan, and then we'll move on to that? Okay. So the August 20th meeting of the Magip Board of Director meeting has officially started, and would like to ask for approval for the July 16th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the July 16th minute meetings.
I second that.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's move on to the really important stuff.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Aye.
Opposed?
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, thank you. I want to also welcome Ken Bixby. Welcome to your first, well, it's not your first Mega Board meeting, but hello, Ken. Thanks for being here today. We're going to touch on some stuff later in the meeting, and you'll have a chance to meet them again. So let's go to the last agenda item. Sorry, this is totally screwed up now. So the website for GIS meetups, there's an action item based on the email discussion and potentially a follow-up conversation with Jeff. Is Gage his first name or last name?
That's his first name.
No, it's last name.
Is
Oh,
it
his
last
name?
name?
Okay.
Josh Gage.
Josh,
Okay.
that's who it is. Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is that we not continue to host that site, but that we download the emails and add the emails to the listserv. Jeff, would you like to add any more additional information?
Yeah,
to
I
that?
guess one clarification, Josh is actually the one that's hosting it kind of on our behalf. I don't even know how we initially got involved. It was created so long ago. But essentially, he pays the $200 a year, and that's how these custom groups exist. Now, I have not looked into it. There's a free version or not, but really the only options that you're getting is the ability to post your meetup onto that site, and it kind of gives a nice little archive of, you know, previous ones who attended, but like we don't even use it that well to see who RSVP'd. So I mean, it's a mechanism that we're not currently really using. I've seen this work better with other meetups, but not particularly in Montana. So yeah, I'm fine with just letting it go.
Yeah, Josh had started it and at some point asked us if we wanted to pay half and just be like joint sponsors of it. It is completely unaffiliated with GIS. It's a general meetup site. So anybody could be on there looking for something to do and could just happen upon that we're having a mapathon or something. And so they might not have any idea what Magip is or ever been to one of our conferences. And so we have actually had people off the street like come to a mapathon through that site. That being said, so it's a way to reach out to new people that may have never been a part of our community before.
Yeah,
but I
that's true.
wouldn't just add their emails to our listserv. I could see reaching out to people and saying like on the meetup page, like, hey, Magip's no longer going to support this. This is how we advertise, but I wouldn't just spam people with our listserv.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, thank you for that insight, Megan. Given that information, I guess I thought my understanding was that it was all GIS related. And if it's not, my preference would be just to walk away, but I'd be interested to hear everybody else's opinion about that.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
just to be clear, Gail, the meetup is not just GIS, but we have a specific Montana geospatial group
I see.
page within that. And
Got
so then we can post our events on there, but anybody could suggest like anywhere.
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, like there could be like a checkers meetup or you know, swimming laps meetup, you know, any sort of meetup under the sun can be created.
But those are different clubs
Correct. Yeah, they're
in
kind of
their own
clubs.
page.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the emails that are associated with this site are also associated with those other clubs. Am I understanding that right?
No,
Oh, okay.
Those are ones that they have subscribed specifically to our group, and I think there's like close to 500. So there's probably some duplicates of ours, but I would imagine there's probably a good 100 emails that are different.
Hey Jeff, I'm just kind of curious. I think, you know, we've had this relationship with Josh Gage for quite a while. It seems to have been working for us. Is there a change in that?
I think he just doesn't want to pick up the tab anymore. I don't, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate. I don't think we have anything coming out of our budget to pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we're thinking of picking it up ourselves or dropping it and starting our own.
Or just dropping it entirely.
Mm-hmm. What other mechanisms for meetups do we have then?
Just Wild Apricot and posting it on our events calendar.
And social media, we still have
And,
that.
yeah,
huh?
exactly. Thanks, Hillary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pop in here and say that we did not leave time for discussion on this subject. So if we all still have concerns about dropping this completely, we should maybe kick this to our next meeting so that we can really talk about it. And I'm happy to do that. It sounds like just by the conversation that we're already having that there are some people that are still concerned about that. Unless we can take a vote, yay or nay, about whether or not we want to walk away with the email addresses and just be done with it, or do we want to spend more time talking about it? So I'm just gonna go ahead, Rob.
Could I ask just, Jeff has been, I know he's been pretty heavily involved, since the beginning of it. Do you or Megan, do you guys have a recommendation overall? Because I feel like we could just keep talking about it, but if you have a recommendation and some, solid feelings, I would like to consider those.
I would recommend that we table it till the retreat to the strategic planning meeting, and we have that discussion as part of a larger membership discussion of how we want to reach and support our members.
Yeah, it could tie into some of our agenda items at the retreat. So I'm fine with just kicking it.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I want to address Helen, just so that this is probably going to fall in your purview for member development. And then also Hillary, if you could make a note on your note taking that we made the decision to couch this, and then I will put it on the strategic plan agenda. And we'll discuss this at length, because I agree. I think it requires us to be in the room to kind of talk about all the different elements of it. But then also, if we walk away from it, is there an opportunity for us to maybe do something on our website? So let's couch this for now. Do we need to take a vote on that, Megan? Nope. Okay. So thank you for letting us put that at the top, because it would have gotten dropped. Let's go back to the top of the agenda and move to the budget. So there have been a lot of discussions about the budget. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of conversation, but I did allow time for us to have a few questions if they need to be answered. Because then we'd like to get to the conference collaboration, and then the request for assistance, and also the native voices. So before Nate even starts, are there any questions that are outstanding that Nate hasn't already answered? You don't know what you don't know until Nate tells you don't know it. Okay, Nate, you're up.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for everyone's input the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I feel like we have a really thought out budget, and one that benefits our membership and spends Magip's money responsibly. So, yeah, I guess I'll just share my screen so you can all see what I'm looking at real quick. Okay, yeah, this is the budget I sent out earlier today, and hopefully you've all had a chance to look at it. There have been three major changes since the last time we looked at it. And I'll just point those out really quickly right now. So under web services, our ArcGIS Online subscription went up from $550 to $700. And then two other changes were under the grants and scholarships category. After some discussion with Rob, we thought it would be beneficial and clear up some confusion to rename the assistance category to member support. And then funds under this budget would include membership requests for assistance. That includes, not limited to, conference registration, workshop, and travel costs. The other change under this category was the student travel budget. We thought we would rename this to student conference support. And this would fund, well, first, it's reserved for scholarship and grant recipients, where each recipient is awarded $150 if they're traveling 100 miles or more. And then their registration cost to the conference. And so there are, in a typical year, there might be 6 of these scholarship and grant recipients. And so that is a total of $900 that could come out of this fund. That said, we haven't seen that full amount used every year. And so any of that remaining amount could be used on any additional requests for assistance that we get from students. And so those are kind of the updates. Yeah, I hope everyone's had a chance to look at this, and there was a tab kind of next to it that had all of these descriptions for each budget item. And so I just included those in this PDF document, and then also added this schedule of all of our subscriptions that Magip pays, just so it's kind of easier for everyone to see where Magip's money is going. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
It looks great. Nate, thanks for doing all those things. You know, one thing I was just looking at, just caught my eye, was the member support line. I'm really glad we have that. But it, at least for this year, it looks pretty slim.
Rob, I had the same comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great item and we need to continue with that, but maybe we can find a way to bolster it going forward, maybe with some of the conference sponsorships or something of that nature.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point.
Nate, I had a question. What are we doing with the money that accrues in our CDs? Does that get rolled over into the scholarships? Because that would be a good use for it.
I mean, right now, any money that is generated from the CDs just ends up in our savings.
Okay. That, I mean, it's something, to look at for next year, because I would not consider that as a balanced line item, because that's just something that we're investing in, and it should go to something every year. So
it's a good point. It's a very good point, Jeff. And Nate and I did have a discussion about that. And, you know, even me personally, I have this long-term interest in building an endowment. So basically, if we could have, you know, as we build our savings, we have those savings, we reinvest those savings, and the interest that comes off of that could support a scholarship in perpetuity.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I think one way we could kind of keep track of that endowment would be to kind of creating another savings account with Wells Fargo, just kind of to make it easier to track a scholarships endowment, and then kind of our savings account that helps fund all of our other responsibilities.
I don't know if that's necessary or not, because if you start separating accounts, you'll probably get less interest. I don't know if it's necessarily ear tag, but you can say it's within the grants and scholarships.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a general pocket of money that you're distributing.
Yep.
And maybe one way to manage that is, so Nate, when you get your documents from the bank and they list out what the interest is, maybe there's a way to make a hyperlink in the budget to that document so that you would always know, or make some kind of a note that that you can see the interest earned and that this interest is going to this line item, maybe as a note in the budget. That would be one way to track it.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, because how much was made off of interest last year? I guess just roughly off the top of your head there, Nate?
Yeah, roughly like 450.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you were to consider like half of that, I mean, it's buildable.
Yeah, it totally is. So I
It's
think
not
we're
really
on
like
a good path
additional
there.
money though.
I'm sorry, Hillary, could you say that again?
Oh, it's not really additional money because Nate already like puts it into the budget, I guess.
Exactly. It's been going into our just operating
Yes.
fund. So what we're talking about, and again, this is probably, I think we're comfortable with the way it's going currently. This is probably something we can talk about further in the strategic planning meeting. I'm just glad that Nate brought it up.
Yeah, me too. And Nate, I just have one question on the line item for marketing the meetups. That's for meetups when our members, yep, right there, the $1,500. Didn't we increase that fund because we felt like there was gonna be a need for more funding for meetups? I know that I have spoken with Aaron Fashaway, and there's some discussions coming out of the MGAC meeting and the strategic planning meeting with Aaron regarding their strategic plan and their strategic goals, and an opportunity for Magip members to get together in a meetup, and that those meetups could be sponsored with Magip money, because it would be Magip members coming to, or GIS members, right, coming together. So I just want to make sure that that's what that's for, that $1,500, because I do think that with GIS Day that we had last year and the meetups that we had last year, and then that potential additional meetups that we may have for going through that document and giving feedback, that we would need that much money. And I just want to make sure that's what it's earmarked for.
Yeah, so the meetups budget that is meant for any meetups requested throughout the year. Most of those requests do come during GIS Day.
Yeah.
And then the other one is for the meetup at the GeoCon. And from last year, we did not increase that amount.
Oh, I thought we had increased it. Okay.
Well, and it's probably worth noting that I don't know if we've ever fulfilled the 1,500. I think we came
Right.
close a couple years ago, but
Yeah, so looking at the budget, we see, yeah, we passed $1,500 last year. And then the actual amounts for 2022, 2023, and 2024. And so the past 3 years, we haven't fulfilled that amount, so.
Yeah,
if
and I
there's
guess, I'm sorry, go
Additional
ahead.
requests this year, I think we should be able to cover them.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions for Nate?
I think it looks great, Nate. Just one comment: in the calendar, we just have expenses. I wonder if we should just make a note that our membership update is March 1, just to have that in the calendar too,
Okay, yeah, that's great.
just for fun. Have some green in there.
Well, and I think this year, is this going to be the first full year where the membership gets renewed in March, or was that last year?
I think that was last year.
yeah, that was
Okay.
last year.
So this will be the second year that we're going through that process, which I think will make it a little bit easier for everybody.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel like something else to talk about at the strategic planning is we have 2 organizational accounts that have not renewed, and we have 115 individual members that did not renew. And just talking about if we want to reach out to them again prior to March 1, or because that's like another $8,000 where we don't have in our budget that could be going to scholarships or other things.
So they
Absolutely.
didn't renew this year. Is that what you were saying there,
That's
Megan?
March.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And some of them probably haven't renewed in years, and I could dig into that more, but some of them just didn't renew last year.
Helen, do you want to reach out to Megan and maybe look at those together, and then we can talk about it at the strategic planning meeting? You're on mute.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
can help with that too, Gail.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Mhm.
Okay, I would like to pass a motion to approve the 2024-2025 budget as it has been presented today. Pending any other questions. I don't think anybody else has any other questions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Do we need a second for Hillary?
Do we
I'll
want to have
second
an
it
all
if we
of?
needed one, but
Oh,
I.
thank you. Second it. Yes, second it for sure. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, if there's anybody opposed, say nay. Eric, you came off speaker.
I said aye
Eh,
to the,
aye, okay.
before it was even seconded, I'd already approved it.
Okay, the 2024-2025 fiscal budget for the Magip GIS Association is approved. Thank you.
Awesome.
That was actually faster than I thought it was going to happen. And thank you for everybody that made comments, especially to Nate. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Nate.
And
Put it all together.
Michelle, who also does such a great job of helping us stay within our budget. And now, Jeff, are you excited? You're on mute.
You're talking to this Jeff?
Yeah. No.
Jeff has you too. Hi, Jeff Sprock.
Oh,
It's
Jeff
nice
came
to
in.
see
Nice.
you here today.
Yeah, so I thought so Gail had asked me to do a kind of a quick presentation of the conference location. So Michelle and I we went and visited 2 facilities last Monday, and I think they're both really good fits, but they have some pretty distinct differences. So just to kind of a recap, Kalispell is kind of it's on the south edge. It's the Hilton Garden Inn, and so it's disconnected from the town by quite a ways. You know, the pros, there's some pretty good pros. The vendors would be significantly more part of the conference than they would at the other facility. And there's also dedicated breakout space. So, but we've done facilities where we haven't had dedicated breakout space. So I don't think that's, you know, anything to particularly worry about. You know, the cons, there's no food and beverage minimum. So I think from that perspective, it kind of did drive up the price a little bit compared to the other facility. But they are very comparable though. I think they're within $1,000 difference. You know, then there's just really no special or feel, you know, truly a special characteristic about those the Hilton Garden Inn, just your kind of your typical corporate hotels. And I already said it's kind of away from the downtown area of Kalispell, so we would have to figure out some sort of deal if we were to do anything downtown Kalispell. The second facility that we visited was just north, about 20 miles in Whitefish, Grouse Mountain Lodge. That one has a very like Montana feel, rustic. I mean, there's just a lot of cool characteristics about this place. You know, the biggest con is there's no dedicated breakout space. There's one, I guess, one dedicated space, but where we'd be eating would have to break into essentially 2 breakouts. So we would have to, keep the rounds in there. But I don't see an issue with that. We've done that before with other facilities. And so Grouse Mountain is just kind of a short shuttle ride to downtown. I think it's like just under a mile or maybe a little over a mile. And the hotel does offer a free shuttle, and I think there's like 15 or 20 people that can fit in that shuttle. So I think it'd be pretty nice way to and I don't know how many of you have been to Whitefish. They have a gorgeous downtown, and there's kind of like there's kind of like a little strip there that there's a lot of cool bars, a lot of cool shops, and then they just recently built this food truck vendor area where they have like artificial turf in the middle of it, and they have like tables. So that would be a nice little option if people wanted to disconnect from the conference a little bit, grab a bite to eat in town or whatnot, or even after our events conclude. The banquet hall is slightly larger. There is a food and beverage minimum that essentially would allow for the bigger space, so our banquet area to be comped. So that was a nice little pro for that. So that does kind of make it a little cheaper than the Hilton Garden. And then they were willing to work with us too. They said that the conference rate would be, or the room rate would be available before and after. And since we'd be doing it after ski season, I don't think there would be too much of a competition of, we'd only have certain number of rooms. So you could potentially take your families either before and after and kind of turn it into a kind of an extended stay a little bit, and not have to worry about having to pay $300 a night or whatnot. So yeah, they both facilities offer the prevailing rate, which up there it's a little higher than our typical standard government rate. I think it's like 130, but still lower than I think the Gallatin County one that we did a couple years ago. And then they have plenty of space for at least 4 workshops. So, and my recommended action, after talking with Gail, Mike Powell, and Michelle yesterday, we're recommending the Grouse Mountain Lodge to be approved for the 2026 conference facility. So I take any questions though.
And
I-
you have your hand.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up, because this was a meeting that Aaron and I have had multiple times for the 2026 location, because we're really want to get the Salish Kootenai tribe involved. And that's why, I know this is a perfect segue to the native voice that you have on your here. Because that's why Brian DeMarco is on this call as well. And us 3 have been working together to get that. And the reason why I'm really excited that you guys are focusing on the western part of the state, because we would like to have the Salish Kootenai tribe host tribal GIS that day, one of those days. And so this is great. Thanks, Jeff. For the search, because we were thinking Polson, just because Salish Kootenai is closer. Right there, they wouldn't have to travel as much, and it could be a good sale point for them to come. But I know there's 2 Magip members anyway in the Salish Kootenai tribe that do come to the conference anyway, so I don't think it would be too bad. So I'm just saying good job focusing on that end, because it's going to help Aaron, I, and Brian going further for our plans for this tribal breakout stuff going forward.
Yeah, we're very excited about it as well. And I would like to actually let you know, Ken, that we did reach out to, and Michelle can give more details about it, but there was a location in Pilsen that we looked at and asked for a response to an RFP, and nobody responded. And so because, and we asked multiple times, and because we didn't get a response, we shifted a little bit. But I do think that the recommendation of the Grouse Mountain Lodge is a very good one. I would like to, before we take a vote, we do have a couple minutes, and I'd like to take those few minutes. Maybe Michelle, Jeff, would you mind not sharing your screen, and let's Michelle share her screen if she can. And could you show the documents that we have, Michelle, that give kind of the highlights of the Grouse Mountain Lodge?
Sure.
And I would say before we go through this, if you're interested at all in seeing what Michelle and Michelle and Jeff were able to see when they went to Kalispell, it does sound like that facility recently had an overhaul. But to Jeff's point, it's very much a hotel, and Grouse Mountain Lodge is very much a lodge. So it has a different vibe to it. So I'm going to let Michelle walk you through this, and then we'll ask you to make a decision.
Okay, so Gail, I didn't pull up the proposal they gave us, but I just pulled up the
That's okay.
conference guide so people can just kind of get a visual
Yeah.
of the space. So that's the outside, obviously. This is kind of their inside lobby area. It overlooks the golf course, has a really nice, a lot of decks out on the outside that have radiant heat and heaters. So like a lot of places to network and visit. I'm just trying to get to the floor plan here.
And
So
I
you
would
guys-
say for you guys, all of these documents are inside of the packet for today's meeting. So you can go to the Google Drive, and all these documents are there.
Yeah, so here's the layout of the meeting space. And as Jeff was mentioning, the main big conference room is over here, but then you have to go outside just very quickly and walk along the boardwalk here that's covered and go into the main lodge. And that's where the other breakout spaces and the vendors would be over here. So we would certainly just put all the coffee breaks and food and everything over with the
Nice.
vendors and push everybody over there.
Michelle, do you know how many people can fit in, like, for workshops? I know there's only 4 rooms.
Yeah, we have all the specs on the every room and how much it holds classroom, how
Yep.
much it holds theater,
Yeah.
how much it holds. Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
All
well, and
that for sure.
Tessa too. So over on that southwest side, those break out in 2 bigger rooms. Those ones would be plenty big, and then you could have kind of the 2 smaller ones, and actually a 5th one would be available too. So we have a lot of different options. But what we were considering for our 3rd breakout session, we would probably split it into 2 if we needed that space for a workshop. So we have a lot of different options, but the space isn't quite big enough to do 2 different breakouts in that room. We've all dealt with like square breakout rooms before, and it gets very tight very quickly. So that's why I think we would just open that for a 3rd breakout instead of a 4th.
Okay. Have you guys looked at any possibility of, if there's something nearby that we could rent out? I know we've kind of talked about that in the past, but it's never really, we haven't done it as far as I know, but.
I don't think we would need to though. I think 5 rooms would be plenty, I think, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine we'd have more than. I think
Yeah.
if we have more than 5 workshops, you're going to start diluting because as it was, there were some workshops that only had like 4 or 5 people in them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and actually they actually do have like 1 or 2 other rooms that could be utilized that would fit. Like, would you say that one boardroom would fit there, Michelle, like 12 or 15 people?
Well, the wine room would hold like 30.
Yeah,
The
the wine room
style.
Yeah, the wine room is pretty cool. But yeah.
I want to go to the wine room.
That's for the wine. Don't you dare have presentations.
I got sold on the family ski vacation weekend comment earlier. I'm in.
Hey,
It sounds like Brian's there right now, so awesome.
I I was gonna
Brett?
say, hey, good choice in my opinion. I think Kalispell is like a suburban death. Um, but yeah, Brian is there right now. Maybe he'd like to say a thing or two.
Go, Brian.
Yeah, no, it's
He's on
it's
chilling.
a great facility. It's been we've had our meetings here for the last 2 years, and it's accommodated everybody, and different vendors that come in, and everybody from the Broadband Montana Association, and it's convenient to eating at different places, and like you mentioned, there's all the outdoor seating, and there's a gas fire pit, and so it's a good spot for people to sit, interact, and to discuss after the day or at the beginning, and I think it's a great choice.
Awesome. So I do have a couple things that I want everybody to be aware of before we take the vote. One of them is that they included in the proposal that they would bookend the price for the rooms 3 days before the conference and 3 days after the conference. And before you get too excited, Helen, we were talking about the dates. So ski season actually ends, Jeff.
Easter
2
Sunday.
weeks- Easter Sunday.
Not a problem. I'm really into
Okay.
backcountry skiing. I'll be just
Okay.
fine.
And it does sound like that there either could be the golf course available if it's warm, or the cross country skiing over the golf course, right? If there's still plenty of snow on the ground. So there is an opportunity to get outside. The one other thing is that there's that outdoor walkway to go from one part of the building to the other. I think it's very interesting that they don't have those connected, but Jeff has actually walked it and said it's quite refreshing to be able to go. And I think everybody here could appreciate when you're at a conference, it's nice to be able to go outside, and to what a lovely place. So I'm going to ask, are there any other questions for Jeff or Michelle about the proposed 2026 conference venue?
Jeff, what was the price difference between the Grouse Mountain and the Hilton?
If we were able to meet, I mean, I guess Michelle could probably attest to this, but it was about $1,000 difference if we met our food and beverage minimum, which we have pretty much the last few years. If they've offered, a lot of hotels, they're kind of getting away from that, but it's actually a good way to like kind of lower the facility fee if you do meet it. But yeah, so the Grouse Mountain actually does come in lower
Yeah,
if we meet that minimum.
Yeah,
And
the
we
Grouse
expect
Mountain
to.
the Grouse Mountain was 7,000 total for the meeting space, and the Hilton was 8,400.
And that's
And we
about
do-
I think that's about what we're paying for every conference anyway. I think if something was like 15,000, I think that would be the red flag.
Mhm. Thank you.
And just one more time. So what were the dates again?
Well, we haven't locked any dates in
Okay.
yet. I think that's
Because
still
you
kind of
said
up to
end of
debate.
Easter.
Well,
Sometime
but we
Easter.
do have her holding right now.
The 13th through the 14th, is that what it is?
Yeah, and she'll hold those till the 30th, the 12th through the 17th.
Yeah. I mean, I
13th
mean,
or
I was
14th of March or April.
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 The 12th through the 17th is what she's holding. Yeah.
I mean, I would say like that first week would work if Easter wasn't on the 5th. I mean, I feel like we'd probably have to shift our conference Tuesday to Friday.
I just worry about if there was a big snowstorm too. Travel.
Yeah.
It could be bad the third week too.
Yeah.
Yep.
The later,
But
the
we
better.
kind of face that everywhere, don't we? In
Kalispell
Montana?
is not as like, you get into a little dicier
Yeah.
weather as you go north.
Okay.
Michelle,
Yeah.
do you remember if the next week was available?
I think it was. Mm-hmm.
So
I think
we could do the 19th or the 20th or whatever that is through the. Yeah.
I mean, it was available when we were there. Now, that's not to say it hasn't already been spoken for since we left, but.
Do we have, I know this past year there was some overlap of our conference schedule with, I apologize, it escapes my memory right now, but I know we had some overlap of we're having our conference at this time and somebody else was having their conference at the same time. And does
Wasn't
anyone
it
in
NWGIS,
Buttes.
Helen?
it,
Was it
it-
NWGIS and Kara Utter had to leave so that she could be part of that?
I don't think so, actually.
Oh, okay.
But it'll come to me. I was just trying to remember if we could avoid any, like, it's kind of hard to do, but any like conflicting conferences that might steal our
And we
attendance.
want to be careful because I want to be careful with that because we have that tribal GIS that happens around that end of the month as well. A lot of people go down in Albuquerque, so we
Yes.
want to be kind of careful with that.
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Ken.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Jeff, when do we have to have the contract signed and back to Grouse Mountain Lodge? And does it include those dates? Is that something that when we approve this today, we're
No.
approving the dates for it?
No.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
just gonna,
this
today
is
we're
just
gonna
a
approve
motion.
it.
Yeah, so we can wrap
Okay.
our heads around like, okay, what days to avoid within the next week, because I think they were going to hold it for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Till the 30th, yeah. And one thing, I will caution you, they probably will fill up quickly, so I would definitely pick the dates sooner than later.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then some of those other conferences that you're referencing, which that's a really good point, like they might not have their dates set yet. So it may be that we have to set our dates and really publicize it, and hopefully they work around our dates because I looked for a couple of those and the 2026 dates weren't out yet.
Yeah, so
Okay.
here's the other thing as well too. The event planner did say that there's this guy that books that hotel for 2 straight weeks for a big hockey tournament, and he has not come to them to propose dates yet. So I mean, if we can get ahead of them to avoid the 2-week block out, that would be my preference.
Because he books the entire hotel.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Michelle, because I do plan on bringing the Tribal GIS president for 2026 up. So if we set our schedule, he won't plan his schedule around that time. And so I already talked to him about it, and I and Aaron already talked to him, so he's aware of it for
Awesome.
2026 that we want to bring him up to Montana. So
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of times, hopefully, if we can get our dates out there before they do, then hopefully they'll work around our dates.
yeah.
Okay, if nobody has any more questions, I really would like to propose a motion that we approve the Grouse Mountain Lodge location for the Magip Big Sky GeoCon conference in 2026. And I would also like to propose that we go ahead and book those dates that we already have. So if anybody's, so I need a second, somebody second that.
I'll second that motion, both for
Back
approving
up the
this
second.
and booking.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Right.
Okay, if anybody's opposed, say nay.
I forgot my
How
horse.
dare ya?
I forgot my horse.
We got-
Horse was going to say it, but I left him.
What's that, Ken? Say it again.
I forgot my horse. He was going to say nay, but I left him outside.
Good, because I like Grouse
That's
Mountain.
awesome. Okay, so Grouse Mountain Lodge will be the location of the 2026 Big Sky GeoCon conference, and sounds like the weeks are booked I think it's April 12th to the 17th. We'll make sure that we get that contract together and signed. And then I would like to, if everybody's okay, to move to the next. Can I request for assistant changes? Can we just make a note that see the new website and the way that you can apply for member support? It's on the agenda. If there's any questions about that, Megan is the person, I think, the go-to person on that. Why am I not seeing Megan?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. You moved on my screen. I was
I'm
like, where'd she go?
hiding under the Magip board. Nikki.
It looks really great there, Megan. Thanks
Thanks.
you and
Thank
your
you, Hillary.
Oh,
Hillary as well.
Yes,
Yep.
Hillary
Yes.
designed the survey 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I can write up something. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but if we want to change the name to member support or somehow talk about that, we can do that. And also send out an email and just
Would you
like,
please?
hello, Magip
Yeah.
universe. This is what's happening now.
Yeah. Maybe
But
we
I've,
could use our social media person to put something together too and blast that out. It's really quite lovely, and I do appreciate being able to have one more thing to say, hey, the reason that you're a Maggot member is because you get this additional support, and to be able to blast that out, I think is a great idea. And the survey does look great. It was so
Mhm.
well thought out.
It's
I
a
just,
great use of our ArcGIS Online account. So
yes,
another
and
benefit of that as well. And being able to now map our requests, it's done for us. We don't have to
I
do any
love it.
additional work.
that's awesome. And thanks to Jeff Sprock, who's on the call, because it was through his leadership that we were able to move away from SurveyMonkey to the Survey 123 and to get the ArcGIS Online account. So yay, that's awesome. So thanks
Win-win.
for that support. Yay,
Woo-woo.
win-win. Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so thrilled. It's going to be so great for our members.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move to the last item, and I just want everybody to know it's taken a village to get to this place. I'm so excited to have Ken Bixby on the call and Brian DeMarco on the call. And I also just wanted to let you know that I have a thank you, Rob, for connecting me with Martin Zobel. I have a meeting with him scheduled for tomorrow. So I want to open up everybody turn your mics on, because I just want to have a conversation about what we're trying to achieve, how we're going to get there. Why did we go to all of the work to bring Ken and Brian and Martin and Tessa, what's your friends, Marcia, like all of those people that are members of the tribe to the meeting? So Ken, thank you for inviting me to the meeting the day after the Magip conference with Aaron. That was really eye-opening for me. And Brian, I actually had the opportunity to sit next to you at the MGAC meeting in July. I didn't know who you were at the time, but so impressed with the ideas that you had for MGAC and ways to help fund that shortfall that we're having. So I guess what I would like to say before I open it up to conversation is we very much would like to figure out ways to support members of the tribe to be more involved with Maggot. And that includes coming to the meetups. It means having them attend the conferences. I think I so noted, Helen, everything that's under that Maggot core values and goals, diversity of thought, perspective, and industry. We need to do a better job of bringing our largest minority group to the table. Members of the GIS community are asking for the tribal track. I've heard that many times. And my typo getting this back out to everybody is, how do we overcome some of the obstacles that are facing the members of the tribe to be able to help them be involved in Magip and GIS as GIS professionals come to those conferences and set up some meetups. So Ken and Brian, you're here to help us. Yeah, what do you think?
Brian, you want me to go first or you want to go first, buddy?
Oh, you go first, Ken.
All right. So the big thing, first of all, for the folks that don't know me, number one, I am a tribal member for the Northern Cheyenne tribe, born and raised which is located down in Ashland, Montana. I work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I've been there for 20 years. I always wanted to give back to my tribe, and not just my tribe, but other tribes. And in the BIA, I've been in forestry and fire for 12 and a half years, land housing records cartographer for almost 4 years. And in this position now, I'm the regional geospatial coordinator, actually just 4 days ago, 5 years. And our number one focus is just that, having the native voices be heard, especially when it comes to GIS. And the BIA disposition 5 years ago that was created was to have the boots on the ground. Go out, talk to the tribes, talk to our agencies, because the BIA has the central office in DC, then the regional offices, and then agencies. Agencies are the ones that really work for the tribes. And as my job, that's what I wanted to do. And I've always been a Magip member since 2008. That's how I got to know Aaron.
Nice.
Aaron and I we're just little minions doing GIS when we first met each other, and we actually met each other down in Mile City doing a training. And she was like, "I'm a GIS person." I'm a GIS person. Blah blah. You know how it's just a small world. Now, I want to answer your question. How can that happen? Well, I tried to remember 2 years ago, we had a big turnout in Bozeman when we did that tribal track. Number one is just being proactive and then letting them know, hey, this is yours, this is your track, this is your guys' to do. And then this past year it was so hard. I sent so many emails. I know Brian gets some too, because he's part of my email groups for training or anything that happens for the tribes. The BIA, what's one thing about the BIA, we have an agreement with our ELA with Esri. So because of that ELA, the tribes get free training and they get free licenses. And that's something that's just huge, that I really like that for Department of Interior. And so now with the new direction of GIS, the White House is really pushing for country to be educated in, not just be educated in GIS, but also understanding what GIS is and how it's important, and why how does it help you as tribes. And the big thing for tribes is having their own sovereign data, right? And so we as the state of Montana, I love seeing this. I love seeing that, hey, how can we help the tribes? And that's what's huge is having the tribes understand that, hey, we want to help. You know, we want your voices to be heard. And I think that's how it should change, right? Is having them have the voices be heard. What are they doing? And then having a network to where it filters out, so where the counties are talking, the states are talking to the tribes, because the tribes do have a say for their own land, and because that's their sovereign mission for themselves as tribes. And so to answer the question, how do we get them to that track, it starts with Brian. It was phenomenal that he was selected in that seat. You don't know how much Aaron and I really got emotional about that, because that seat was vacant for 8 years. And him to step up like that was huge. So I want to accommodate to him. And I told him that before when we met, that him to step into that position is huge. Now we have a person that not only is a tribal member, but also has a tribal program that's going to reach out to the other tribes and say, hey, I'm a Magip member too. This is what we're here. This is what we do. And that's how we should focus, is that we're here to help one another, not be that silo, not be that, hey, I'm doing my thing, I want to do my thing. No, we all know in GIS we help everything and we work it with everybody, and that includes Indian country. So it's my spiel. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Ken. Brian, before you go really fast, Rob has a question. And then I just want everybody to know that we are at the top of the hour. Mike needs to fall off. If anybody else needs to go, please let us know that you're stepping out. But if you can stay for 15 more minutes, I would love to have you all stay on the call if you can. Because Brian, we haven't forgotten that you're there and we want to hear from you. Rob, do you want to hold your question until after Brian, or do you want to ask Ken?
I actually have to go also, and it's
Okay.
a question. I just heard Ken say something really interesting, and I thought it might be a good something to think about. But this connection with Esri and the training and things of that nature, you might want to leverage that and have them hold a workshop,
Oh.
or something of that nature at the conference. You know, that'd be another reason to bring participants to the meeting because you could organize a pretty interesting and useful training session.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get too much further, I don't want to lose everybody, but I want Brian to have the opportunity to talk before he goes. So Brian, please, the mic's yours.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess so. I'm real quick. I'm Brian DeMarco. I work for Said Communications. I'm the general manager, and so I've spent the last year and a half working, with the Blackfeet and with other tribes across Montana to further build broadband and infrastructure and technology. And so when I had, I guess, an opportunity to sit on a board and to help participate and help to, I guess, maybe bridge that gap that exists in Indian country, I jumped at the opportunity and to work with Ken and to work with Aaron and so many others. And so, one of the things we've talked about is it's sometimes it's finding that application that works or fits or resonates with those on the reservation. One of the biggest ones, are utilities, water and power, and broadband. And so, GIS would play such a critical role if we did a better job of mapping out infrastructure and then we know where it's at, we know where water lines are at, we know what broadband's at, if we need to dig or if we have an emergency and need to make repairs. I think bringing those practical applications and then creating, I guess, unique ways to either, fund positions from a tribal perspective or to do training. We've reached out, we've had some conversations with USDA, Kathleen, she's just a great resource. There's a lot of different programs out there that could fund different things. And so I guess I'm excited to be involved to help, further the advancement on the reservations, especially with GIS and with technology. I guess I should also know I am not a tribal member, but I do work for the Blackfeet. And so, I report to a board, I report to the tribal council. And so it is good to hear the different things and the needs. And I guess my goal is to bring those back and to share that with everybody and figure out how we find solutions to, the barriers are high. How do we reduce those? How do we get other people involved? How do we come up with, a mechanism for funding if needed or to bridge that gap? And I like that this upcoming or the conference, maybe in 2026 or whichever, having a tribal track, having something that helps, the different tribes understand the practical application and how it can benefit and increase the use of GIS on the reservation.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff. I think this whole infrastructure management is a important concept, for the country. And I think, in Indian country as well. I personally dealt with Glacier Electric, in terms of power line management and things like that. That might be, guys, that might be a component of a track, talking about how tribal infrastructure is dealt with in a GIS manner.
What a great idea, Rob. I'm like literally on your exact same brainwave right now. That sounds so cool. I also wanted to just chime in on something that Ken said earlier that I thought was really powerful. And Ken, you were talking about, bringing those native voices to the table, and that language to me is very powerful, and I want to really hear the native voices and welcome natives to the table. And something about that language resonates with me in some way. I don't know, just a feeling like maybe we have it's a track that is maybe even branded a little more like a native voices, or I don't know, just throwing it out there because that language is really powerful. And I couldn't agree more with the goals that you have with like bringing more tribal members to the table, bringing more tribal issues to the table, bringing more relevant GIS this is, the right now problem that we need to solve. And so I'm really excited about all these ideas.
Yeah. And Helen, we talked at the end of last conference and throughout, all this partnership stuff and diversifying the content of the conference, one of the things we said, in order to do that, you really have to actually make an effort for it. Otherwise, we get the same old stuff, right? So we need to reach out. We need to have so maybe this is a great opportunity to work with Ken and Brian and reach out and actually make invitations to people and say, hey, love for you to present on these topics.
Yeah,
Great.
if I could I just like interrupt for just a moment, because one of the things that comes back to me over and over as part of building these collaborations is what's missing for us, I think, at the Magip board level is having those relationships. So I know that Tessa has a relationship with Marcia. Ken, you and I have met. Brian, I was so very grateful to meet you at MGAC. Rob introduced me to Martin. So so this is very, very much the beginning of the conversation. And I would like to actually expand on the idea of not just having the track for the tribes, but also having the participation of the tribes throughout the year. That's what my goal is. So and I do think that we need to continue this conversation. I think that we'll add it to the strategic planning event just for Ken and Brian. So we're going to be all meeting, the board of directors meets in September in person. We're going to be meeting in Ennis this year, and we'll start to plan the conference for 2025, but then also these collaborations, and very much part of the Magip board goals for this year is to build these relationships with the tribes. So what I would ask from you, Ken, and from Brian, and tomorrow when I talk to Martin, and when Tess and I have the opportunity to meet with Marcia, is to ask you, who are those people that we should be reaching out to? Who are those people that you know that you think should be informed about Magip and should be included in the conversation when it comes to participating both in Magip, in the meetups, but then also the conference and maybe presenting at the conferences. So I think that's kind of the bigger conversation.
Kind of going off of that, absolutely. But I would like to say, so I'm the technical committee chairperson, and I am responsible for putting together all of the workshops for the conference. And I mean, the idea is to, kind of meet the needs of training needs across the state. And if we're missing a huge chunk of people, then like that needs to be addressed and go from there. So if you have anything else, I love the infrastructure. Wally Gladstone told me LiDAR is a big one that needs training. And so if you have anything like that, please. Okay.
Big one, because I talked to Michael Fashaway too, and this has been an issue since the pandemic for me, and that's the next gen 911. All the tribes, the counties are collecting it except for 2 tribes, and that's not good. The reason is though the only thing is that the tribes did elect to do the collecting themselves, which is fine. That's their choice, that's their option, and I support that. But there should be a next gen training, and also how next gen 911 helps any country. Why is it important? Why do we want to do that? Because number one, you're doing address coding. So a lot of tribes feel like that's sensitive information for them, for their tribes, and for the land. So there needs to have an understanding of that, of how it helps them. And so that's something that needs to be addressed.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. And then also, Jeff, you were part of that conversation, that meeting the day after the Magip conference,
Yes.
and the cadastral, right? So I'd be interested in hearing your feedback after having been a part of that meeting and your work.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so
Rob.
I'm in the efforts of, creating a Parcel Fabric support group. I have not started that effort yet, but yeah, I'm certainly going to include the BIA, and certainly any sort of tribal communities that are working and creating their own parcels. We certainly welcome that effort at the Montana State Library and support it. And I guess going back to your question there, Ken, there actually should be a lot of next gen talks at the 2025 conference as well, because Michael Fashway will be able to participate fully in that conference. He's kind of had to split time, him and Aaron, just because of the distance from Helena, but because it's here, we should have all of us at the state library in the state of Montana be able to be fully committed. So that'll be nice.
Thank you. Tessa, I see your hand is raised.
I had one last thought. If either or anyone can think of something we can do on GIS Day to support anything, that would be awesome.
You guys can
Yeah.
come down to Billings in November. I've been working with our 2 colleges because I've been trying to reach out to students, and Chippewa Cree last week, that was one thing that they wanted as well to Stonechild, is having a GIS date to get into their students' involvement. So
Yeah.
I've been working with
Nice.
Eric at Bozeman, Go Bobcats.
Yep.
MSUP and Rocky, we actually are setting up a new agenda because I had a presentation to our students that target to our students because I was trying to reach the native students that do GIS are in science field, so I can, because BIA has a pathways program, and what it is that if they get into that pathways program and they get all that experience, also that education, and when they get out of college, they have a better opportunity, better chance to be a federal employee because they got that experience, and they're already paid as a federal employee, and so I'm getting realigned. I will no longer be under my regional office probably within, I don't know when, but it's pretty close that they're going to be moving all us regional geospatial coordinators under the central office, which is under the which it would be under DC. And so because of that, that's going to open up more opportunities to speak with the tribes more. I know Megan was supposed to be in the meeting. Megan.
I didn't want to get sick.
But
I'd much rather have been hanging out with you, KR.
Megan and Michael Michael did stop by because that was something that Aaron suggested to do, and it was an awesome meeting with that, and that was exactly what we talked about, and that was one thing. Again, having Brian on this right here is a start. Is just huge because I say that because when it's a BIA employee sending emails about, hey, get involved and all that, that's what they see. It's a BIA email, right? So that's got to be a different approach, and having Brian, I don't want to speak for him because he has his own voice to speak for, but for that direction, that's something that I saw these in this 5 years of it in this position, and then being closer to a reservation for that too is huge. In 2026, that's a big one too. So I just love this. I love how we're getting the tribes we're starting to think now. I'm more of a go by action instead of speaking. I'm that kind of person. And so now we're talking about it. Let's do something about it. So this is the start right here. So let's do it. And then tribal GIS, because like I said, I not even only the tribal GIS folks, I'm also going to be bringing up a couple of the tribes that established their own GIS programs in this presentations, because I think some of our tribes need to see that. It's like, wow, that's how you become self-sufficient. That's how you run your own program. That's how you do your data. So that's kind of, I think that's for the state of Montana. I think we need to have that as well. To have other tribes see what the other tribes are doing.
I agree.
And that will really, really help them. But then I also heard that when you're saying get them involved, get them involved in this group too. So
Yeah.
they know that they feel like they're involved as
Yes.
well.
And
Yeah.
Kehar, how do you see that? Do you see that as inviting them to participate in these meetings and conference planning and
Why not?
having additional like meetups, or like just thinking about how do you think we should be reaching out to them and getting more people involved?
Just like that.
Okay.
Get a contact. Ryan, you might have some people that you think would be good leaders.
Yeah,
I think
no,
that's
I
the kind
can,
of thing.
yeah, I can put a list of people together and we could start reaching out to them.
I
Hey.
would love to invite some tribal members to join us on the planning committee as we plan the 2025 conference as well as the 2026 conference in the future, because that perspective is, I mean, Ken, you joining the planning committee 2 years ago or whenever you first jumped in the Bozeman conference was such a success, I think in large part to the efforts that you made to get the word out and to get people excited about GIS and amp up that attendance. So I would love to have some tribal representatives from. It'd be awesome if we had multiple tribes or anybody who's interested in to hear those voices and help us do a better job at bringing more Native voices to the table.
Yeah, and I hate to be the gatekeeper. We've gone past the 15 minutes that I requested that people stay. Thank you for staying, although I think I'm going to lose my quorum very quickly here. But Brian and Ken, I really would like to be able to reach out to both of you so that we can continue this conversation, to talk to you about those other people that we can pull in to start getting, to your point, those leaders in your community that can start, and to Helen's point, have them potentially be part of that strategic planning event. Maybe that, I think that's wonderful. Yes, if you guys are both okay with that, I will reach out to you and probably Helen, any of the people on the call right now, may potentially reach out to you, but I'm certainly willing to be the point person for that. The other thing that before we go, everybody, so excited. Steve Gilbert is the new GIS manager for Billings. So Jeff, congratulations. Well done. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I just introduce him. Right here next to me is Steve Gilbert. He comes to us from the state of Missouri, Branson, Missouri. Very talented GIS professional, has experience in the oil and gas and local government, amongst other fields. He's lived in Bismarck. Anyway, I'll let Steve talk to you.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Houston area. That's where I grew up. And it's where I got started my GIS career, working in the oil and gas industry. I studied at the University of Miami, and that's where I got my first exposure to GIS. I moved from Houston to Bismarck, North Dakota, just as winter was starting, which is a really bad idea. And there I worked for a small software engineering firm that provided solutions for state governments. We did a lot of work with state law enforcement. And then I came down to Branson so that I could take their GIS to the next level. When I arrived, they had a couple of web app builders, applications on their website. Some of their departments had started using Collector and Survey 123. And after 4 years, by the time I left, they had 70, 80 custom applications built with the ArcGIS JavaScript API. That's kind of my main passion, is web development and also automation with Python scripting. So I'm really excited to join Jeff's team here at Billings. And yeah, my first week in Montana has gone really well.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting. Anything that I need to do, Megan, to make it official that we're ending this meeting today?
Well, yes, we should have somebody.
Quorum or no quorum, I
Go
move
ahead,
that
Eric.
quorum or no quorum, I move we end the meeting.
Yes.
I second it.
Even the last 20 minutes, is I've just been sitting here listening. It's just enjoy it all. Thank you. But I move
Awesome.
that the Magip board meeting be closed for this date.
I second.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Steve, could you
Sarah.
put your email in the chat? Thank you.
Okay.
Steve, you should join the planning committee with us. It's the best. Then you can get to know
I'll
us
think about
all.
it. I was tugging
Okay.
on his arm a little bit for that, so.
Yeah, we're persuasive. We'll get you in here.
Hey, Gail, since everybody's still on here, or most people are still on here, I'm getting ready to send the final list to the El Western Cabins in Ennis.
Okay.
2 people. We do have 2 cabins that have 2 bedrooms, like they're 2 separate bedrooms, so you have your own space. So I'm just wondering if there's anybody that wants to like
I can
share
share.
cabin.
Anybody
Okay.
want to share with me?
I'll
I can
share with
share.
you.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
Helen.
You share.
Helen, Gail, so Helen and Megan, but then we still need 2 other people to share.
Okay. Certainly
Can't wait
willing
to
to
be
share. if
roomies.
we- I know, right? The cabins are nice. They're a nice size.
We've
Okay.
shared like one room cabin together before as a board, so this is like luxury.
And we're so happy to have you, Megan, and official, right?
It's real.
It is real. Michelle, I'm going to be sending an email out tomorrow about the El Western. Did you ever hear back from Rob?
Yeah, I actually
Okay.
chatted him while we were on this meeting and he answered and said, yes, he's coming.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And then, Ken, I don't know, Brian had to jump off the call, but I'm going to be in touch with you guys, to talk about that strategic planning meeting and, next steps forward. So maybe there could be an opportunity for somebody to come in person to that. If you think, if not, I do believe that we have the technology to be able to, broadcast that so they could potentially join, online during that strategic, although that's a hard, because it's like 2 days of planning. It's a little bit harder than being there in person.
I've
But
done
I'll
it.
reach out. Yeah, if you have somebody that you think could be or would be interested in that, we'd love to have them participate. Okay, so the meeting has officially ended. Do we want to stop recording?